Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. The Three Kingdoms period in ancient China was an era teeming with heroes and turbulent events. It was a time when brilliant minds and mighty warriors rose to prominence amidst the chaos of war and political intrigue. The novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms, set against this historical backdrop, was masterfully crafted by Liu Bei. Through his artistic imagination and literary skill, he transformed this already dramatic period into an even more gripping and compelling narrative. The book features a wide array of vividly depicted characters, each with distinct personalities and backgrounds. These figures belong to different factions, some are both wise and brave. Others are loyal and righteous, while a few are cunning and treacherous. The character portrayals are so lifelike and immersive that readers feel as though they are transported to that war-torn era, a time of fierce rivalries and heroic struggles. However, amidst this novel brimming with heroic spirit, one striking aspect stands out: the noticeable absence of strong female characters, especially those of significant weight, such as female generals. The only female warrior to appear on the battlefield is Lady Zhurong. Lady Zhurong is said to be a descendant of the ancient fire god Zhurong. She married Meng Huo, the king of the southern region, Nanzhong. Not only was she of noble lineage, but she was also extraordinarily brave, skilled in throwing knives, and possessed outstanding martial prowess. Her striking presence and gallant demeanor made her a unique figure in the entire Romance of the Three Kingdoms. She is the only woman who personally led troops and fought on the battlefield, essentially, the fiercest female general in the novel. At one point in the story, Zhuge Liang employed the tactic of building mountains from mounds of earth to capture the city of Sanjiang. This caused Meng Huo to fall into disarray, panicking and unsure of how to respond to the Shu army's assault. At this critical moment, Lady Zhurong stepped forward without hesitation, taking on the responsibility of defending her homeland. She led an army of 50,000 troops directly to the front lines, ready to confront the advancing Shu army head-on. Her presence greatly boosted the morale of the Nanzhong soldiers and demonstrated her exceptional courage and sense of duty. Lady Zhurong's bravery and decisiveness made her the most dazzling and distinctive female character in Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Soon after, Lady Zhurong led her army forward. As they had just passed a mountain bend, they were suddenly blocked by the Shu forces, who had long been lying in ambush. Leading the opposing troops was the Shu general Zhang Yi. At this moment, the two armies met on a narrow path. Tension mounted as battle became inevitable. Lady Zhurong appeared riding a curly-maned red hare horse, wielding a long spear and with 5 throwing knives strapped to her back. She looked heroic and imposing. Zhang Yi was stunned at the sight of such a formidable female warrior. After all, encountering such a fierce woman on the battlefield was a rare occurrence. Uncertain of his opponent's capabilities, Zhang Yi proceeded with caution and prepared to fight with full strength. After a few rounds of combat, Lady Zhurong feigned defeat and turned her horse to flee. Seeing this, Zhang Yi was overjoyed, thinking he had a chance to capture the enemy commander alive. Without a second thought, he gave chase. But just a few strides in, a throwing knife suddenly flew toward him and struck his left arm directly. Zhang Yi had not anticipated such a tactic from a female warrior. Caught off guard, he had no time to dodge and was hit by the flying blade. In pain and unable to control his horse, he fell to the ground. The surrounding Nanzhong soldiers quickly rushed in and tied him up tightly, giving him no chance to resist, like binding a giant crab. In this way, Zhang Yi was successfully captured by Lady Zhurong. Soon after, another Shu general, Ma Zhong, heard that Zhang Yi had been captured by a woman. He found it hard to believe and even amusing, mocking Zhang Yi's incompetence in his heart. Ma Zhong personally rode to the battlefield, determined to redeem his comrade's honor. Upon arriving at the front, he shouted insults at Lady Zhurong, filled with scorn and disdain for a female general. However, Lady Zhurong remained completely unfazed. Her expression was calm and composed, showing not the slightest reaction. She clearly didn't take Ma Zhong's insults to heart and even appeared somewhat indifferent. As if his words had no effect on her whatsoever. Seeing this, Ma Zhong became enraged and immediately spurred his horse toward her, hoping to humiliate her with brute force. Little did he know, before he could even get close, his horse tripped over a hidden rope trap set in advance. Man and beast both tumbled to the ground. Before he could get up, the Nanzhong soldiers had already surrounded and captured him with ease. And just like that, Lady Zhurong triumphed again, her courage, composure, and clever tactics proving that even in a story dominated by male heroes, she stood out as a truly legendary figure. Lady Zhurong captured yet another enemy general with almost no effort. Delighted, she sent the two prisoners back to be guarded by her husband, Meng Huo. When Zhang Yi and Ma Zhong's subordinates saw that their commanders had been captured, they were thrown into disarray and had no choice but to report the urgent situation to Zhuge Liang. Upon hearing this, Zhuge Liang immediately realized that this female general was no ordinary opponent and should not be underestimated. He summoned his top generals, Zhao Yun, Wei Yan, and Ma Dai, to discuss a counter-strategy and instructed them to follow his carefully laid plan. The next day, Zhao Yun appeared before the Nanman army to issue a challenge. Sure enough, Lady Zhurong came forth to accept it. The two fought fiercely for over 20 rounds, with no clear victor. Suddenly, Zhao Yun switched tactics and pretended to retreat. This time, however, Lady Zhurong did not act rashly. She was already on alert and chose not to pursue, instead withdrawing her troops back to camp. But what Lady Zhurong didn't realize was that this was just the beginning of Zhuge Liang's intricate trap. Shortly after returning to camp, a report came in, another challenge had been issued at the camp gates. Still fuming, Lady Zhurong went out to see who it was. This time, it was Wei Yan. She could no longer hold back her rage. How could she possibly endure such provocation at her doorstep? Without hesitation, she rode out to battle. The two clashed for over 30 rounds. Then, like Zhao Yun, Wei Yan pretended to be defeated and fled. Burning with anger, Lady Zhurong gave chase, throwing caution to the wind. She pursued him relentlessly until they reached a narrow mountain path. Just as she was about to strike, her horse suddenly tripped on a hidden rope trap and both she and her mount were thrown to the ground. Before she could react, Ma Dai sprang from his ambush with his troops and swiftly captured her. At last, Zhuge Liang's elaborate plan succeeded. Lady Zhurong had fallen into the hands of the Shu army. As for the outcome, many already know the rest of the story. Zhuge Liang used Lady Zhurong as a bargaining chip to exchange for the captured Shu generals. Zhang Yi and Ma Zhong, winning a brilliant victory through strategy rather than brute force. Some history enthusiasts have evaluated Lady Zhurong's martial prowess. She was exceptionally skilled in combat, especially with throwing knives, and she was the only truly battlefield-hardened female warrior in Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Regarding her appearance, legend has it she was stunningly beautiful. Many Three Kingdoms fans dubbed her the Dagger Beauty, and believe she deserves a place among the most beautiful women of the era. In terms of character, Lady Zhurong was brave and decisive, clear in her sense of justice. Outspoken and fiery, possessing nearly every trait one would expect of a top-notch general. According to historical records, during the late Eastern Han Dynasty, the Three Kingdoms, Wei, Shu, and Wu, vied for supremacy. Shu's Chancellor Zhuge Liang, entrusted with the care of Liu Bei's heir, vowed to restore the Han Dynasty by launching a northern expedition to reclaim the Central Plains. However, just as he was preparing for this campaign, the southern Nanman region seized the opportunity to rebel and began harassing Shu's borders. Upon hearing of the unrest, Zhuge Liang decided to lead an expedition south to quell the rebellion. As soon as the Shu army entered Nanman territory, the two sides clashed in their first battle, resulting in a decisive Shu victory. The Nanman leader, Meng Huo, was captured. But Meng Huo refused to concede defeat, insisting that victory and defeat are common in warfare, and that this was no big deal. Zhuge Liang merely smiled and unexpectedly ordered Meng Huo to be released. Many officers were puzzled, but Zhuge Liang had his reasons. He then summoned one of Meng Huo's deputy generals and, in front of everyone, deliberately blamed the rebellion on him. The deputy general was furious and quickly defended himself. Zhuge Liang, pretending to be helpless, also released him. Enraged and humiliated, the deputy general returned to the Nanman camp, stewing with anger. Unable to bear it, he turned on Meng Huo and delivered him, bound, to the Shu camp. Thus, Zhuge Liang captured Meng Huo a second time, but still, Meng Huo refused to admit defeat. And once again, Zhuge Liang let him go. Now the entire Shu army was even more confused. They had marched thousands of miles, risked their lives to capture the enemy leader, only to see him released again and again. It felt more like a game than a war. But Zhuge Liang explained, only by winning people over with virtue can we truly convince them. If we rely solely on force, they will eventually rebel again. After his third release, Meng Huo returned in both anger and shame. At that moment, his younger brother Meng Yu proposed a plan. He would pretend to surrender and launch a surprise attack on the Han camp. That night, Meng Yu indeed brought troops and faked a surrender. However, Zhuge Liang had already seen through their trick. On the surface, he warmly welcomed them, offering fine wine and delicacies. The southern troops had limited alcohol tolerance and were soon completely drunk. Just as they were dead drunk, Meng Huo led a night raid on the Han camp as planned. Unexpectedly, he ran straight into an ambush and was captured for the third time. Yet, Meng Huo still refused to submit, and Zhuge Liang released him again. Shortly after Meng Huo returned to his camp, he heard that Zhuge Liang had appeared alone on the battlefield, surveying the terrain. Delighted, he personally led troops to capture him. But it turned out to be another trap set by Zhuge Liang, and Meng Huo was captured for the fourth time. Even then, he still refused to admit defeat, and once again Zhuge Liang let him go. By this time, even Meng Huo himself was starting to feel embarrassed. This time, one of his top generals, Yang Feng, was deeply moved by how Zhuge Liang repeatedly captured and released Meng Huo. After discussing with his wife, he decided to take action. While Meng Huo was drunk, Yang Feng tied him up and personally delivered him to the Han camp. And thus, Meng Huo was captured for the fifth time. However, Meng Huo still insisted he had been framed. Zhuge Liang didn't get angry and simply released him once more to continue their contest. This time, Meng Huo learned from experience and decided not to take things lightly. He sought help from the powerful southern ally, King Mulu. King Mulu's camp was in treacherous terrain. As Zhuge Liang led his troops there, they had to not only climb mountains and cross valleys but also fend off wild beasts. The Shu army suffered greatly. To make things worse, the enemy used beasts in battle, causing the Shu army to lose a fight. Even more troubling, they encountered several poisonous springs along the way, making it hard to find drinking water, further weakening morale. Luckily, Zhuge Liang received help from Meng Huo's older brother, Meng Jie, and managed to safely retreat to camp. Back in his camp, Zhuge Liang personally devised a plan. He crafted fake beasts from timber, larger than real ones. When they faced King Mulu again, the sight of these giant beasts made the southern troops think divine beings had descended. Terrified, they scattered without a fight. Once again, Meng Huo was captured. Zhuge Liang could see that he was convinced in heart but not in words, so he released him once more. After leaving, Meng Huo turned to the kingdom of Wuge. The king of Wuge commanded a mysterious force known as the rattan armor warriors, soldiers covered head to toe in armor woven from rattan, impervious to swords and spears. But Zhuge Liang was prepared. He laid an ambush in a mountain valley and used fire attacks to incinerate the rattan warriors along with their armor, utterly destroying them. This time, Meng Huo was captured for the seventh time. As Zhuge Liang prepared to release him yet again, Meng Huo finally surrendered completely. He knelt and swore an oath, pledging never to rebel again. Seeing that Meng Huo was truly convinced, Zhuge Liang entrusted him with important responsibilities, allowing him to continue governing the southern region. Deeply moved, Meng Huo expressed his loyalty, declaring, "I will serve Shu Han faithfully." From then on, the south remained peaceful. And Zhuge Liang was finally able to focus his efforts on the northern expeditions against the Wei state. Zhuge Liang's 7 captures of Meng Huo was not about showing off but about using compassion and wisdom to win hearts. Though Meng Huo was a formidable warrior with a strong army, in the face of Zhuge Liang's repeated mercy and strategic brilliance, he had no choice but to genuinely submit. It was not only a triumph of strategy, but also a testament to Zhuge Liang's personal charisma. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.